Hello my fellow aliens, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jojo Rarity, and today's video I'm going to be talking about a show I've been obsessing with since it came out, and it's called Shadow and Bone. And I'm going to be talking about the differences between the books, actually book 1 like Shadow and Bone, and then the difference between the TV show and the book 1. And no spoilers by the way, I'll only be talking about the show of course, all the 8 episodes, and then only book 1 and then 6 of Crows also because they're in it. Of course I'm gonna be spoiling the show because if you didn't watch it then don't continue watching it, because I need to talk about the show and the difference between the books. And also I just want to say I always wanted to read Shadow and Bone. I only read it this year. I knew it when it came out, I think 2019. I think Ben Barnes posted something about the show, and I actually only followed him because of the Punisher, because I liked him in the Punisher, and then I followed him in social media. I never really grew up watching Narnia. I know he's in it, but I really watched the movies so much. And so yeah, I wanted to check it out. I read what it was about, and it was so intriguing for me. If you know me, I like stories with powerful beings. So of course when I read, I was like, it's a fantasy and a YA book with powers? Come on, count me in, because if you know me, I love Marvel. I love like anything with power related, so no wonder I will like this one. And I never thought after Mortal Instruments I'm gonna find such a trilogy, or like modern trilogy like these books that I love so much now. And yeah, thank God I did. So then I decided to check it out. I want to read it, but only until this year. So I just want to thank Ben Barnes. Because of him I know the show, because if I didn't follow him I wouldn't know about the show actually. So anyway, I decided to read the books this year. I bought them in February and I finished all 5 books in like 3 months I think. When the show came out I was still reading Cook Kingdom but almost finished it. And anyway, there's another 2 books that I just found out recently, and it's King of Scars and Rule of Wolves. And it's like after Cook Kingdom, so don't read it before, because there's a character in it that's in book 2 of Shadow and Bone, so it doesn't even appear in the show yet. And yeah, this one is also the second part of this one. So I just want to talk about the first main difference is that the crows are actually not in the first 3 books. What? I know it's kind of shocking, especially if you really like these 3, but they only appeared in their own books, 6 of Crows and Cook Kingdom. And it's like so different already that time, because they actually never meet up with Alina and Mel in the other ones. It's kind of confusing, right? So if you think about it, it's kind of like a prequel of 6 of Crows. But I kind of like it how they combined the 2 books together. The 5 books together actually. It was kind of cool to see that. First of all, let's talk about the story in the show. It's about this main protagonist called Alina Starkov. And she's the main girl in this one. She's an orphan and she grew up in the country of Wafka with her best friend Marian or Seth, and also called Mel basically. So anyway, they grew up together in the orphanage, that's why they're so close. So Wafka is at war with the Ferdans and Shuhan, and there's like a shadow fold, and they need to enter the fold to go to the other side. And you think why they can't go around the shadow fold is because they have a war with the Ferdans and the Shuhan. They cannot enter their territory, something like that. So they need to cross the fold to get to the place they want to be, and it's dangerous because Shadowfold, inside there are like some creatures called Volqua who can eat them all alive. So anyway, Mel is this tracker, and they did a lottery something, that's why they choose Mel to go. He needs to go into the Shadowfold because he needs to get some supplies, and he was chosen. And that's how it's different in the books, because in the books already in the beginning, Alina is a map maker, like one of the cartographers, and she already need to go with them into the fold. But in the show, Alina doesn't need to go with them because they already have a map. So Alina in the show, she destroyed the map, so they actually needed her to go with them, so they know the way kinda. So she basically put the crew of cartographers in danger because they all need to come with them now. Because she didn't want to leave Mel's side, so she wanted to be with Mel, that's why she did that. And it kind of makes sense how they did in the show than in the book. Also want to talk about the flashbacks that they put. It's so cute, you know, the friendship more. And they also kind of changed because in the show, Alina always protected Mel. Mel was bullied because he's like half-breed also. And it's different because in the books, it was the opposite. Of course, Alina was like bullied and Mel was always a protector. And anyway, once inside the fold, she suddenly inherited these powers she didn't know she had, but she had all along. She was like just hiding it. And she's someone called the Sun Summoner, because Mel was in danger, so she created like the powers it's like a light coming out of her hands because the Volker inside they are scared of light. So she's the only one who can destroy them. And also, a sun summoner never existed before. It's a kind of a myth story going around. They didn't know it was real. But suddenly there she is, had this kind of power because she rescued Mel with it. So then she got introduced with General Kerrigan. Also so different from the books, because in the books he's only called the Darkling. They only call him the Darkling all the time, not General Kerrigan. But it kind of makes sense, he kind of changed his name, because if you call him like, if they call him the Darkling, it kind of sounds already evil and dark. So that's why it kind of makes sense why they did that. And also then you understand it more later with Alina. And also one thing that kind of confused me was that he already said his name was Alexander. Beginning I didn't like that he already said his name so fast, like in episode 3. Because in the books he only said his name in the last book, by the way, so it's kind of confusing for me. But when I finished the show, I kind of understand why he did that. And also in the books, it was the Darkling who kissed Alina first, but in the show, Alina did the first move and kissed him because she already trusts him. He already mentioned his name, so it kind of makes her trusting him more, and that's why I understand why they did that. But one thing I was upset about, I didn't choose that quote from the book, and he said in the book was, the problem with wanting is that makes us weak. And I really like that dialogue, by the way, between them, because it's like for him so hard to like her, because he actually only wanted to manipulate her to destroy the fold. Didn't actually wanted to fall in love with her, but then in this time we know that he actually did. But I think in the show they also did a good job, because Alina actually also fell in love with him. That's why she did the first move. So then Darkling knows that she also kind of had feelings with him, also the other way around. And there's some people who don't even understand or didn't like that, they didn't think that Darkling actually likes Alina. He only uses her from the beginning. I think it's not true, because I really feel like Ben Barnes did a good job in betraying him, and I feel like you can really see it in his face. Like for example, the time when he met Cass, and Cass said something that she ran away because she didn't want to be captured again, and he was so hurt, he has tears in his eyes. So I feel like he really actually liked Alina, and he thought she likes him too because she did the first move, right? So it kind of makes sense that time, and I really feel like how much he actually likes her. Or back to Mel, he's like left behind with the first army because they put Alina in the coach and they go back to the little palace because she's a Grisha now. And anyway, Mel is left behind, and he kind of volunteers to look for the stag, because the stag is like an amplifier. So Darkling and Alina talked about the stag is an amplifier that kind of makes you more powerful if you use it, because Grisha can actually use like some bones of some creatures to make them more powerful or something like that. So Mel is actually looking for that, because when they were younger, Alina actually drew the stag before, that's why he remembers it, how it looks like. And yeah, there's also one part that's kind of so sad to think about, because they're writing letters to each other, right? In the books, you don't know that, but it's like only Alina's point of view, so you don't know actually what Mel's doing all this time. So there they show it. And in the show was so sad because he was like being shot at, he was like almost dying because of her, but Alina doesn't know that. She was kind of hurt because he never write back, and there's a reason behind it why the letters never arrived to each other. But I kind of find it sweet how they showed that they write letters to each other. I really want to see that, because in the show it's showing, not telling. So that was kind of sweet. But then one point was when she asked Ganya to erase her scar. It was so sad because Mel do anything to get to her, and she just like destroyed this and just think about Alexander now and not about Mel anymore. It was kind of sad for Mel. She tried so hard to actually get to her, but of course she doesn't know that. So both of them are kind of like, what's going on? Like, do we care about each other anymore? Because no one heard anything from each other. So there's some other things happening in the first episode. There's some other characters show who are in Caledon, and it's the Crows that showed in the first time. And I loved the introduction. It was pretty cool to see that. And only 3 of them appear in the show. It's Cass Brecker, Inesh Gaffa, and then Jesper Fahy. And it was so cool, the introduction, everything. It's kind of like a prequel, because it's okay if you watch this first and then read the books, because nothing like the storyline is nothing like in the books, because it's kind of like more of a prequel. So if you watch the show and then read the books, you kind of understand the characters more because you already know them. So anyway, they did this original storyline with them, which was so cool. Like, the storyline is that they need to kidnap Alina Starkov for 1 million Krugel. So yeah, they're like kind of criminals, so they only care about money. So that's why they did the storyline included with them was so cool. Also to see them together for the first time was also pretty awesome, because in the books they never actually meet. To see them together suddenly was kind of awesome to see that. The reason why I know it's kind of a prequel story with the crows is because of Nina Zenig's storyline with Matthias Helfer. And yeah, I say Matthias because it's like a European name, so it's not like Matthias. It's kind of wrong, I think. So anyway, that part is so cool. I think this part is kind of confusing for people who don't read the books, but if you're a book lover and you read all the books, it was so awesome to see them together, because everything was so on point. Everything was really exactly from book to screen. All the dialogues, what they say, everything what they've been through was so cool. That's why you know it's a prequel, because it was a flashback in the books. That's why it was so cool to see that they kind of united together, and they did such a good job in portraying them, I think, also. And it was kind of confusing maybe for people like who are these people suddenly. But for me, they're like really important characters in the Crow story. In the show, she's kind of a spy for General Kerrigan. Because he mentioned her, I kind of want to look for her because she suddenly disappeared. Because she got kidnapped by Matthias Helfer. For all the Europeans out there, it's Matthias, so I kind of say it right. So anyway, she got kidnapped by him because he's a Further. And so like Further, Triskellers are like witch hunters who hate Grisha and feed him the most. So, and then just think about it, because people say they kind of did it so fast, but just think about it, they kind of been on the road and survived together for a long time. I think it's been weeks, so that's why they kind of got close to each other. And it's so sweet, right? Because she's a Grisha and he's someone who hates Grisha, so I kind of love how they build their relationship's gonna be like this. And it's so cool to see that before, because you don't know, like in the Six of Crows, you don't know the backstory yet when they use them. So it was like nice to see that actually happening on the big screen. So let's talk about some other differences, like some characters don't even appear in the books. For example, Arkan Visser. And he's like not even in the books, but they needed someone to cross the fold and like a smuggler. And he's like called a conductor, which is kind of like an Easter egg from Six of Crows, because there's one character there. But I won't spoil anything, but I think they kind of did it on purpose for the book readers. So anyway, he's like a completely new character, kind of need to help them to cross the fold. Also, General Slaton and the entire Civil War storyline doesn't even happen in the books. But I think they wanted to show it so you know that the war going on, to understand it more. Because it's Alina's point of view, how would you know about that? So of course in the show they need to do kind of like more backstories behind it. And like, yeah, more storyline. And let's talk about the best character on the show that doesn't appear in the books. Milo, the goat. Everyone's been talking about it. When I didn't watch the show, everyone's talking about what kind of goat. I was like, what the hell? But he's like the cutest. And with Jasper, so funny. And people always say Milo is like the new crow, something like he joined them, something like that. Anyway, it was so funny. And yeah, let's talk about Mel's friends also that appear in the books. Dubrov and Mikhail, and like also like Alexei is like the first name, and they're like more important in the show because of course they're like the comedy relief, because everything needs to be serious, and we laugh every time they talked. And also Alexei ending was kind of different, because in the books he actually died on that ship there, but in the show he kind of escaped, and I loved how they did that, because he went to Caledon, right? So it's the only reason they know that the Sun Summoner actually exists. So like with Cass, Brecker and other storyline. So that's the only reason why they know and want to kill Alina, because he escaped and said to them, and there was like another guy, he said to them that a Sun Summoner actually exists. Let's talk about Alina. I really loved in the show more when I found out that she's actually half Asian, because in the books she's white. So I like how they did the change that she's half Shu. And if you know me, I'm half Asian too. So that's why I can really relate to Alina so much, because she's also half Asian. And it's so nice that they did that, especially with the Asian community going on right now. I think if I was younger, I'm like 27 now, if I was younger and suddenly heard about the show, so amazing to see that, because you don't get to see it a lot, right, in YA movies. I mean, except All the Boys Loved Before. That's why it's one of my favorite movies. She's also half Asian in the book, so it really makes me like relate to it more, the character. And that's why I think I like her more on the show, because I can really relate to her since I'm also half Asian. And I get why they did that. It's kind of cool, the storyline, how they did that. If you don't know, Shuhan is a country based on Mongolia and China. And it kind of makes sense they did that, because she already looks different, and now she's more different because she's a Grisha now, and she's like the sun summoner. No wonder people don't really accept her being a Grisha, because they hate Shuhans, because Shuhan's always at war with the Wolfgans and everything, and that's why it's like so hard for them to trust her. That's why when she went to the little palace, people accepted her there, because it doesn't matter where you come from, because she's a Grisha, so Grisha kinda are like working together, something like that. But I mean, non-Grisha, they kinda like hate Shuhan or something like that, and they're kinda racist, I think. I also want to talk about when they say like Vice Eater. They say that Alina and Mel are like Vice Eater because they're like half-breed. I didn't find it offensive because it's kind of true, right? Because like I heard some Asian communities are kind of offensive with that. And then in the palace, when she was with Janya, the one person said change your eyes, and she said don't change my eyes. I didn't feel offensive by that because I'm half Asian. I was feeling like she said don't change my eyes. It means she's like proud of being Asian, and if you don't like that, whatever, something like that. So it's not really offensive by that, because people say so fancy they mentioned that, but I kind of understand why they did that. And Alina said she doesn't want to be changed with that, because Alina said don't change it, so she kind of embraces being half Shu, and I kind of relate to that because when I was younger, people also bullied me with my eyes, and I also need to embrace it. So this part I kind of really feel like her, because people always like bully you if you look different, and that's why I really love this part Shu. It makes her character more like struggling, because she's like a Grisha now, so it's like two things now. She's Shuhan and a Grisha, and people hate that, so it kind of makes sense that they did that. Oh my god, let's talk about Mel, because everyone hated him. Almost everyone hated him in the book, and also me. I mean in the books, because he's so much better in the show, which is so weird, because when I watched the show I was thinking like because I didn't like Mel. It was so annoying, really so annoying in the books. And then also when you find out that the Darkling is evil, and then Mel is this guy, like her love main interest, like what the hell. I didn't care about the love story anymore, and then that's why I thought like what kind of book is this? But then when the show came, they really changed Mel so differently. Also the author Lee Badugu, she said she didn't like how she portrayed Mel in the books, because it was her first book, and that's why she wanted to change it in the show and make him more likable. And suddenly people liked him, and because in the books he's like so resentful, he's like so mean and always jealous. He doesn't accept Alina for who she is. He doesn't like her power. He wants that she gets rid of the amplifier, because he's like a macho kind of guy. Like he's the guy, so he needs to protect Alina, something like that. He's kind of like flirting with girls and doesn't have eyes for Alina, because Alina in the book is like one-sided. She loves Mel since the beginning, but Mel doesn't even notice her until later on. So, but in the show, he's so communicative, he's so accepting, he's so nice. And maybe it's because you don't know his point of view, right? It's only Alina, so you actually don't know how Mel feels. And now in the show, you know what Mel did to get to Alina, so you kind of understand it more. But one thing I don't like is that they do him so nice, is because in the second book there's an important character coming, and now that Mel is so nice, it's gonna affect the other story, because Mel is kind of like the character a little bit now, because he's accepting and understanding with her power. But there's a new character coming. I won't spoil anything, just read book 2. So I wonder how they do that now, because in the books like they're always fighting and so on, so I really wonder about that. So let's talk about Darkling's backstory in the show, because it's not in the books, of course, since Alina's point of view. Only Bakra like talk about it with Alina, I think, but there it's like showing, not telling. So that was interesting. He had a lover before, and then like how he created the Shadowfall actually. Then you know that he's the one, Black Heretic, actually all along. It's the Darkling all along. And he did that, so that was interesting, and you kind of feel like he's more human the time, because actually he always cares about the Grisha and wants to protect them, because the king is kind of ruthless and he hates the king of Wafgar, so he kind of just do everything for the Grisha to help them actually, but he do it in the worst way possible, because he's killing people. Talk about Zoya Nazalensky, and she's more important in the show, because in the book she's kind of so bitchy and annoying, because she's so jealous of Alina, because she actually likes Darkling and so on. And she kind of had a thing going with Mel. I don't know if they slept together, but they kind of flirt with each other in the books. But she's like more important in the show, because only in book 2 you kind of know more about her and joining Alina's side. But in the show she's already joined them, because also in the book she mentioned that she had a family, a noble risk. So that's why she already against Darkling, because well, Darkling killed all the people there. So she's kind of more important later on in the story. So they already did more storyline for her. Also more storyline for Fedor, because in the books he's not that much, but I already liked him because he was always so nice to Alina. And also Ivan was the bad one, but he was the nice one. So I won't spoil anything, but they did the storyline with Nina Zenik, like getting to her, was kind of more important in the show. So the difference is how Marie died, because she actually dies in the second book at the ending, and she had a boyfriend in the books called Sergei. So it was kind of different now. I wonder how they're gonna do that now, but she's not really that important. I think the more important character is also Jenya, and also David. I actually love David. I love how he portrays David. He's so funny, and also Jenya, I like how they're gonna blossom the relationship into something more. She's kind of so cute. And I really like these characters from the books. Let's talk about Alina's connection with Morosova's dad. It's also kind of different, because in the books David kind of did like only a collar, like the amplifier was kind of a collar around her neck, but there was kind of more gory and more like gnarly looking, like really etched into her skin, and you can see her bones. It was so disgusting, but so amazing how they do that. And also in the books it was only like a physical, it wasn't a physical connection, and they did it like he put like the other side of the antlers in him, so they're kind of connected. But in the books he already killed the stag, so actually he already had the power to control her, but they want to show it more because then maybe you can understand it more, I think. That's the reason I like the show better than book 1, because book 2 is actually my favorite. Like Siege and Storm gonna be so good, but I think you don't need to read the book 1 because it's kind of boring and dragging. She was in the little palace so long, and it's like kind of boring to read it, I think. So you can skip the book 2 if you want, because there's new 4 characters in season 2, and 3 of them are from book 2. So if you want to know more about them, read them, because these are one of my favorite characters also. And also one new character from Six of Crows book, because if you notice there are only 5, so one member is missing, and people were kind of upset why this person didn't show up, but Lee explained it because there's too many characters introduced, so they're gonna introduce 4 new characters in season 2 if it's gonna be renewed. But I'm so excited, and that's why I think the story was so interesting when the Crows are in it, because as I said, like what else can they do? Like she was always in the palace all this time, so they did like the more action scenes with them. It was pretty cool to see that also. So yeah, that's why I feel like the show is really better than the first book. It's the first time I'm saying it, because it's usually never like that. I always like the books better. So let's see how they're gonna fit in the story with the Crows, because in book it's so different now, because Matthias is in prison, but he never got out after 2 years. So they're gonna do like Nina joining them, because in the book also she didn't join them later on. She only joined them later on, so I don't know how they're gonna do the storyline. Maybe they have another heist, another prequel story. I know how they're gonna do that, but they did a great job in season 1. So maybe in season 2, I'm just gonna wait and see how they're gonna fit in with the story with Alina and so. That was it. Hope you enjoyed it, and also comment down below if you actually read the books or if you watched the show already. And if you didn't, I really recommend you to watch it. You don't even need to read the books. Just watch it first, and then later you can decide if you want to read it. It doesn't actually matter, I think, in this case, because as I said, the show is really good than the first book. So yeah, also don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content of me. Don't forget to put on the post notifications so exactly when I upload. I upload every Wednesdays and Saturdays. So see you on my next video, guys. Bye.